Yep, okay, we'll go ahead and close this out. And another interesting option with data export is the ability to email the file we've downloaded. Now there's some other considerations that we need to take into account with this. We have to have first off an email application like Outlook, which is configured to work on that specific network. But if we do, and again this information specifically can be found in the help file on how to configure that, we can automatically send the data table that we've downloaded to a specific email address. This is a nice option for automation. If we have a server that is looking to build maybe some database and it can read from Excel files that are emailed, again, we have the ability to do CSV files as well. But again, for this example, we're not going to worry about it. So I've defined a schedule. We've defined a table. We've given our PLC name. We've defined that we're going to create an Excel file. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and we'll see that you must select at least one table or region. So I do have to select this table here, and we'll select the schedule as well, and we'll hit OK. Now there's two more steps we need to take before we can actually run this project. The first is to define the location that our Excel files will be saved to. And to do this, we click on Project, and Excel Properties. I'm going to browse to a folder I have on my desktop. It should be Webinar. Oops, I'm going too far. There we go. And then the folder that we've created is our number 5. I'll hit OK. And we also have to save the project, so we'll just save as, and I'll save it also in here. And this is our our test file. I use the word test a lot for these. Okay, so we can see now that we have a specific site again. We are connecting to a vision controller on COM1, and we're enabled. So if we wanted to edit this again, we can double click. And if we want to run it, this is very important now, we have to hit the run button or hit F5. And we need to leave this running. Where did it go? Let me minimize this a little bit. I apologize, give me 1 second. I just seem to be freezing up here. Let me open it one more time. Okay. We'll save the project again. Yes. And I'm sorry, give me just 1 second. I seem to be having a PC error. Okay, let's try that one more time. Okay. I'll just save it as test 2. Okay, we've saved our project. Okay, and so what we see when we run is our call log. What we'll see under here is the name of the site and some information once it runs. So notice there's some buttons here: force call, send log to file, and clear log. We're going to force the call. We're going to select the PLC from our list. Again, in this case it's test. We'll hit OK. We're connecting to the site. Notice the information in the bottom left. Good. So now we have some information to look at. Notice this was the first call. The site name was test. The call time, the important information, call succeeded. Call trigger, it was our user request. It was not some schedule. And no retries, and then so it succeeded. Let's take a look at where this information was saved. Now, we saved the specific ULP. Again, this is the data export file here. And it created this test folder when it saved the first piece of information. So it saved it test.table1, which is our table name, and then the date. So let's go ahead and open this and look at it. Good. So we have our row, date, time. These were our two data bit, data int, and data long. These are our column names. And we have the specific information. We'll slide these over. And this is the information that was in the data table at the time that we downloaded it. Okay. Is this clear? Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay. In that case, I'm going to close this. No, we don't need to save that change. Let's go ahead and we'll just run, we'll force 2 more calls. And just see that it is working. Good, we've completed that. And we'll look in the folder. And we'll just arrange this nicely. Good, and we see that each of the tables is recording with the date and the time that we're performing the log. Again, if a CSV file is more appropriate for us, we can choose to use that. I'm going to go ahead and hit stop here. And so we've just seen how to define a schedule or do a manual force call for the project. I want to create another scheme. So this is nice for time-based events, or if you manually want to come and connect. Again, with a time-based event, we need to know exactly how long we can let the PLC record data before the data table fills up. Since this is the way, in this case, that we are creating more space or moving the information from the data table, it's very important that we get to the data table and clear it out before we fill it up. And again, the only option we have over our serial connection here is to use a schedule or manually come and download. So one nice option we have over Ethernet is to perform a TCP/IP connect from the controller to the PC. So we're going to leave the PC in listen mode to start the download. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to create a new project. And this time we'll see how to perform a TCP/IP connect to do this. And again, the benefit here is that the PLC can initiate the download. So we can use our row index, say, if we want to log information instead of on a time basis. Maybe there's some event every time a bit goes high, every time a door is open. We can't easily calculate how long it's going to take to fill a data table, but with this method, we don't have to worry about it. We can let the PLC worry and say when the data table is near full, I want it to download. We can use one of those success bits to clear out the data table after that. So the first thing we need to do in this case, PC ports. Notice we have 2 Ethernet options. The first one is for call. So if we wish to use the same type of downloading we just did, but we want to do it over IP or TCP/IP, we can do that. But we're going to put the PC into listen mode. We're going to use, in this case, port 20257. We did a webinar on Ethernet. It's up on our website too, and it's worth watching if this is new for you. So we'll talk about these things briefly, but Port 20257 is the default port we have on socket 3. And we'll take a look at the programming in VisiLogic in a second. We'll hit OK. We will add a new site. Again, we'll call it test. We're going to create an Excel file. This time we're going to select Ethernet listen. And this is going to leave the data export session listening for a connection. We'll go ahead and define one more table again. Test. Load it in. And we'll add its name. And we'll hit OK. And I'm going to close this and select this. Now, one thing that we need to do, and we'll talk about, I'm just going to go ahead and use this memory bit to set. I'm going to use memory bit 3. And I've set this up previously, so we'll take a look at that in VisiLogic. Excuse my coughing. Okay, we've set up our session. We're going to let it sit. Oh, I'm sorry. We have 2 more steps. Define the Excel, again, to get to my desktop. And 5. Okay. And we have to save our project. We'll call this test with Ethernet. Okay. We're not going to run this yet. We're just going to let it sit for a minute. So I'm going to minimize it. I'll close this folder too. Okay. So let's look at the additional code I added here. Notice that there's 4 new nets. We'll just briefly explain them. Again, SB2 is our power-up bit. It's high for just the first scan of the controller. So when we start it up, it will execute for just that first scan. We put it in the beginning of the ladder, so these things are executed before anything that needs to use them. We've defined a PLC name, in this case test. I've given it an IP address that works on my network. 10.2.2.55. Okay. And we're defining socket 1 on port 20256 as a slave. This again is the default port and default configuration for socket 1. So we're not changing anything in this case. I just want to leave it open to TCP/IP communication if I wish to connect with a PC. The important one here is socket 3. Notice the port is 20257. Again, this is the default port for socket 3, but I've changed it from slave to master because I wish to make communication or start the communication from the PLC on this socket. Now the next 2 nets, when we set MB1, or rather when MB1 goes high, I apologize for the coughing, it's a little dry in here. Let me start that over. In net 2, when MB1 goes high, so we have the positive transition of it, it's going to set MB2. In the following net, when MB2 is high, we use the system bit 142 to check if the Ethernet card is initialized. We use system bit 146 to check if socket 3 is initialized, and system bit 150 with the inverted contact to see if we